Before I explain how to be inspired and stay motivated, you first have to understand what's happening when you're feeling inspired and motivated. So what exactly is happening? Well, think of a time when you felt inspired and motivated to do something. How did you feel in that moment? You were probably in a positive state of mind, right? You were thinking positive, you felt energized, you were inspired to take some kind of action, right? Now think about what the word inspired even means. To be inspired means to be in spirit, or in other words, you're tuned in to the presence of the energy within you, your spirit, and you're allowing it to be expressed through you. See, when you're in this state, your energy is flowing, and that's why you feel energized. And your body is releasing a mixture of feel-good chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, etc. And these chemicals are energizing chemicals, and they make you feel good, so you feel inspired and motivated. Now, the chemicals that are released in our body depends on the type of thoughts that we think, because our thoughts influence our emotions. When we think happy thoughts, we evoke the emotion of happiness. When we think angry thoughts, we evoke the emotion of anger, etc. And each emotion has its own chemical associated with it, called neuropeptides. So there's a chemical for happiness, there's a chemical for anger, there's a chemical for fear, and so on. So whatever thoughts that you were thinking at any given moment will determine the chemistry that is released in the body in that moment. And that's what gives you the feeling that's associated with emotions. So when you're in a positive state of mind, this triggers the release of feel-good chemicals in the body, and you feel happy and energized. You think more positive, you feel more confident, you can think more clearly, and you receive insights from higher states of consciousness, and you're motivated to take action. But on the other hand, when you're in a negative state of mind, this triggers the release of chemicals in the body that make you feel bad. You feel drained, stressed, you can't think clearly, you're uninspired and unmotivated. So to be inspired and stay motivated, you have to maintain a positive state of mind. So how do you do that? Well, your state of mind is strongly influenced by how you perceive things and situations. For example, most people tend to live for the future, right? They're always planning for the future, always trying to get somewhere, always striving for something, trying to acquire something that they don't have yet, right? Well, the problem with this is that you can get caught up mainly focusing on the things that you don't have. Or in other words, you're looking at the glass as half empty. I'm sure most of you are aware of the expression of looking at the glass as half full versus looking at the glass as half empty, right? Now, it's the same glass of water, but when you look at the glass as half full, you're looking at it from a positive perspective. You're focusing on what you have. But when you look at the glass as half empty, you're looking at it from a negative perspective. You're focusing on what you don't have. So looking at the glass as half full puts you in a positive state of mind, whereas looking at the glass as half empty puts you in a negative state of mind. The situation is exactly the same in both cases, but how you perceive it will determine how you feel about it. So if you're always focusing on all the things that you don't have yet, or how far you still need to go, or how much work still needs to be done, then you're going to put yourself in a negative state of mind because you're focusing on the glass as half empty. You're focusing on the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And this will evoke feelings of doubt, hopelessness, discouragement, etc. And you will struggle to find the motivation to keep going. Your life will feel like a constant uphill battle. And you may still accomplish a lot, but the process to accomplishing those goals will be a constant struggle. And this is also why a lot of people never feel satisfied, no matter how much they accomplish or how much they acquire. They always need more, and no matter how much they acquire, it's never enough. Because they're always focusing on what they don't have. When you're constantly focusing on what you don't have, then you're never going to be content. You're never going to feel satisfied. There's always going to be this underlying feeling of emptiness, like something is still missing. Because you're never going to acquire everything. It's impossible to acquire everything because there's an infinite number of things. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit. It's never going to happen. So if you're constantly focusing on what you don't have, then you're always going to feel incomplete. But if you shift your attention from focusing on the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, to the opposite gap, the gap between where you were and where you are now, now you're looking at the glass as half full. If you focus on how far you've already come or what you've already accomplished, then you're putting yourself in a positive state of mind. And this will evoke feelings of accomplishment, achievement, success, contentment, etc. You will feel more confident. You will feel energized and motivated to keep going. And the process to accomplishing your goals will feel effortless rather than being a struggle. And another thing, I explained how our thoughts determine how we feel, right? But how we feel also affects how we think. When you think certain thoughts, it evokes a certain feeling, and that feeling will cause you to have more of those thoughts, which only intensifies the feeling, and so on. So, for example, if you think happy thoughts, it will evoke feelings of happiness, which will cause you to think more happy thoughts, which will bring on more feelings of happiness. But if you think angry thoughts, then it will evoke the feelings of anger, which will cause you to think more angry thoughts, which will only intensify your anger, and the cycle continues. So you get stuck in this cycle, and you'll continue in that direction until you shift your thoughts in a different direction. So depending on the thoughts that you think and how you choose to perceive any situation will determine the direction that you go. Either you'll spiral upward and feel happier and happier and become more and more motivated, or you'll spiral downward and you'll feel worse and worse and you'll become less and less motivated. So it really all comes down to developing and maintaining a positive state of mind. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to start developing a more positive perspective. The simplest and most effective thing that you can do to develop a positive perspective is to practice gratitude. Most of us tend to take the things that we have for granted and just focus on the things that we want. But instead of doing that, be grateful for all the things that you already have. Just think of all the things that you already have now and all the things that you received in the past, and be grateful for each one of those things. And this can be done by simply saying thank you, out loud or to yourself, it doesn't matter. And try to feel the feelings of gratitude for each one of those things. You can even start a gratitude journal and start every day by writing down 10 things to be grateful for. And it can be as simple as just being grateful for having a bed to sleep in or having running water to take a shower. It doesn't matter how big or small the thing is. The key is to look for as many things in your life to be grateful for. Now what this does is when you're trying to think of things to be grateful for, you're training the mind and rewiring the brain to look for the positive instead of the negative. And if you continue this practice, then over time you will develop a more positive state of mind. Now, the second thing that you can do, or not do, to develop a more positive perspective is to stop comparing yourself to others. If you compare yourself to someone who you think is doing better than you, or is in a position that you want to be in, or has something that you want, then again, you're looking at the glass as half empty. You're focusing on the gap between you and that person, and this will evoke feelings of inadequacy, inferiority, doubt, discouragement, etc. Don't focus on the qualities and skills that you don't have. Focus on the qualities and skills that you do have. Don't compare your chapter to somebody else's chapter, because that person could have been walking their path a lot longer than you've been walking yours, and that's why they're further ahead. But even they had to start somewhere. There was a time when they were in your situation, and there will be a time when you will eventually get to where they are. Remember, everyone is on their own path. Don't worry about their path. Focus on the path that you're on. There's no need to compete with others. It's not a race. The only person that you need to compete with is the person that you were yesterday. As long as you're improving every day and you're working towards being the best version of yourself, then that's all that matters. So stop comparing yourself to others and just do you. Now, the third thing that you could do to stay motivated is to break up your goals into smaller goals. And the reason for that is because whenever you accomplish a goal, it triggers the reward center in the brain, which releases dopamine in the body. So you get this feeling of accomplishment. You feel happy and energized. But if you just have this one ultimate goal, then you're not going to get the feeling of accomplishment until you actually accomplish that goal. So you may find it hard at times to stay motivated during the process because you're not getting the chemical release that energizes you and motivates you. But if you break up that one ultimate goal into smaller goals, then you will trigger the reward center in the brain every time you accomplish those smaller goals. And you will receive small rewards in the form of feel-good chemicals, and that will keep you motivated along the way to achieving that ultimate goal. So for example, let's say that you have this goal that you want to accomplish. And let's say that it's probably going to take you about a year to accomplish it. Rather than just setting out to accomplish that one ultimate goal and just doing as much work as you can every day until you achieve it, take that one goal and break it up into 12 smaller goals for the 12 months of the year. Then take each month and split them up into 4 weeks. And for each week, determine the tasks that you're going to tackle each day. So every day you have this list of smaller goals to accomplish. And every day just focus on accomplishing those things. And as you accomplish each task one by one, you can cross them off the list. And every time you cross one thing off the list, this will trigger the reward center in the brain, releasing the chemistry in the body that gives you a sense of accomplishment. And you will feel happy. And you'll feel motivated to keep going, and that feeling will carry on to the next day and the day after that, and so on. And you'll pick up more and more momentum as the days go by. Now this is different than just setting out for one ultimate goal, because when you do that, you tend to keep thinking of how far you still need to go, or how much work still needs to be done. So it will leave you feeling discouraged and doubtful, especially if you're just getting started, because in the beginning you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel to keep you motivated. So it's easy to get discouraged. You could be putting all this hard work in every day, but still feel like you're not getting anywhere. Do you see the difference between just setting out for one ultimate goal versus breaking it up into smaller goals? The situation is pretty much the same. You could be doing the same amount of work in either scenario, but the difference is how it makes you feel during the process. It will make the difference between feeling inspired and motivated versus struggling to find the motivation to keep going.
You don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. And you do that every single day.
And soon you have a wall.
And soon you have a wall.
So those are just a few things that you can do to start developing a more positive perspective so that you could become more inspired and motivated. But the key is to be consistent. Try to maintain a positive state of mind as much as possible, because your positive thoughts will trigger your positive emotions, which will cause you to have more positive thoughts, which will then intensify your positive emotions. And as you pick up more and more momentum, then you will become more and more inspired and motivated. But you have to be consistent. If you keep going back and forth from a positive state of mind to a negative state of mind, then you're never going to build that momentum. You'll just be taking one step forward and one step back, not going anywhere. Now, one way that you could keep yourself from thinking negative thoughts and falling back into a negative state of mind is by eliminating the things in your life that trigger those thoughts and emotions. It could be certain people or what you watch on TV or the internet, whatever it is. You want to eliminate as much of those things as possible. So avoid toxic people and negative conversations, and be conscious of what you watch on TV and the internet, especially the news. And also be conscious of what you put into your body, because anything that you put into your body can have an effect on your state of mind. Anything that causes you to crash after that initial high can have a negative effect on your state of mind. Because when you come off that initial high and you dip into a low mood, it will bring on negative thoughts, and that could be just enough to cause you to fall back into a negative thought cycle. So you want to eliminate those things as well. And if you can't eliminate those things completely, then at least keep them to a minimum. Because the less steps backwards that you take, the faster you're going to progress. Now, I'm going to give you one more thing that you could do to be inspired and stay motivated, which in my opinion is the obvious one. You want to choose a path that is in alignment with your passions. Choose work that revolves around your passions. That way it will never feel like work. Do what you love and love what you do, because when you do what you love, you won't need to be motivated. You'll naturally be stimulated and feel motivated just from the act of doing what you love. You won't need coffee or other stimulants to get you started. You'll be more likely to jump out of bed excited to start the day. But if you choose work that you're not passionate about, then you will struggle to find the motivation at times. Don't chase the money or the job title. Do what you love and the money will come. It's the journey, not the destination, that counts. So those are just a few tips that you could use to get inspired and stay motivated. If you haven't already, also check out these videos because they provide more information on how the mind works and how to program it. Also, check out my ebook, which has even more information in there that isn't found in any of my videos. Here's the link to where you can access it. I hope you found this video helpful. Please share it with anyone who you think may benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I have a lot more videos on the way. Leave your comments and questions below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.